I'm attorney Martin Nicholson from the law office of Martin Nicholson. I'm here on day three of the Jonathan Majors jury trial. Now, it was very explosive with the opening statements, and in criminal cases, the prosecution, who has the burden of proof, has to go first. They have the right to go first in giving the opening statement because they have to prove someone guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, before the trial even started, the prosecutor dismissed four counts before the proceedings even started, because basically they do what prosecutors often do, which is overcharge. And they overcharged him, and they knew that if he got convicted, those charges would merge together, that they would just basically blend in. So 4 of those counts are dismissed. And remember, he was facing 5. Also, another interesting thing is that the prosecution accused the defense attorneys of filing or crafting these false documents, that they wrote statements of witnesses that never said anything. So apparently there were statements by some of his girlfriends that said, you know, he's a nice guy, and now they're claiming, and never hit him, and now they're saying they never said that. The cab driver is apparently saying he never made that statement. And I got a question from one of the viewers that said, hey, is the cab driver going to testify? And it was like, well, it looked like from the previous reports that he would testify on behalf of Jonathan Majors. Now, when I go into the opening statements, you'll find out not so clear who he's really testifying on behalf of. So we do know, according to the prosecutors, that these witnesses did not write those statements. They're denying it. And in most cases, that would be considered like fraud, perjury, forgery. You know, that is an ethical violation if they actually crafted that. Now, of course, Jonathan Majors isn't being charged with this as a crime, but if that happened, that is an ethical violation, and I'm not exactly sure why they thought they could do something like that, given how big this case is, that this is something that they would definitely find out. Now, the prosecutors claim Jonathan Majors violently manhandled his ex-girlfriend. Yes, manhandled her, because she caught him texting some other female. That's what it is. That what the whole entire thing was supposed to be about. Also, the prosecutor's opening statement, the prosecutors also claim that this was a cruel and manipulative pattern of psychological and physical abuse that he's inflicted upon his ex-girlfriend. And all this ended up culminating in the back of a cab in Chinatown. According to the prosecutors, that when the police arrived, there were no signs of injuries on Jonathan Majors. He didn't have a single scratch on him. But according to the prosecution, that Jabari did have injuries, that she was transported into the hospital with a broken finger and a bloody gash behind her ear. That's what the prosecution is saying, that all of this started because she caught him texting someone. Also, what's interesting is that the prosecution says that there is video proof of Mr. Majors grabbing Jabari with his hands and shoving her into the back of the car. Now, once again, this is the prosecution's opening statement, and shoving someone in the back of the car could be subjective. It could be, you know, hey, get in the back of the car. Could get in the car. So we really don't know. But they say that the cab driver said that Mr. Majors threw her into the back of the car, the back of the cab, like a football. So this is huge, because before we heard that the cab driver was supposed to say that nothing really happened and all that. Maybe he's still going to say it. The prosecution says, hey, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, not the next day, not the next week, not the next month, but three whole months later, Mr. Majors now files a complaint saying that he's the victim. But the prosecution says they investigated it and found it had no merit, so they closed and sealed the case. The prosecution has always also argued to the jury that they are going to provide them with evidence of Mr. Major's prior bad acts, abuse towards Miss Jabari. So apparently he was hurling objects at walls when he got mad, and there's a recording of him allegedly saying that she needs to be live up to the standards of the late Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife, Coretta Scott King. So apparently he's telling his girlfriend that she needs to live up to that standard. That's what the prosecution is arguing. Now on to the defense. The defense told the jurors this all boiled down to a jealous ex-girlfriend upset about a breakup. Upset. They dated for a couple of years, and now they're in the back of this car, and they get in this argument, and the defense agrees that some physical altercation happened because they said they had a seconds-long physical altercation over a text message on a cell phone. So the defense does admit that there was a physical altercation. Now, what they don't necessarily say or agree with is they say one person emerges from the car with a bloody gash. And the lawyer told him it was in fact her client, Jonathan Majors, who was injured and fled the scene in fear. Which contradicts what the state said, because the police were supposed to say that he didn't have any injury on him. The defense says the other person emerges unscathed, and they're referring to Miss Jabari, unhurt, and gives chase on foot through traffic like in a movie. So they're saying that Miss Jabari actually chased Jonathan Majors. It's going to be interesting to see if there's any video footage of that, because they claim that he goes into the apartment, hotel, and hides while she goes out into a club, dancing, drinking, doing shots. And I did see video footage of her doing that. So if that timing lines up, seems kind of odd that you would have a broken finger, gash in the back of your head, and you would go out drinking and things of that nature. So it's going to be interesting to see if this video footage holds up to what they are saying. Now, there's video footage of her being found in distress on the sidewalk by some other people. When Jonathan Majors goes to the couple's apartment, the following day he sees her injured, distraught, in a closet, half naked, believing that she was suicidal. So then he goes ahead and calls 911. So Jonathan Majors is actually the one that called 911. So it's interesting that he would get in there and call 911 if he actually, beat her. Like, why is he calling 911? She didn't call 911. So the defense says this is a case about the end of a relationship, not about a crime, at least not one that Mr. Majors committed. This man is innocent, they said. This is not just a presumption. At the end of this case, she says, I'll ask you to find Mr. Majors not guilty and ask you to end this nightmare for him. Very dramatic is what she did in her closing. She also said that the cab driver is going to testify that she, Ms. Jabari, was acting like a psycho. So that's some of the testimony that the cab driver is supposed to put out. Is it her acting like a psycho, or why was she acting like a psycho, versus him, the cab driver, saying, oh, Mr. Majors threw her in the back of the car and things like that. So we'll see if he lands on the side of more for Mr. Jabari or Miss Jabari, or more on the side of Mr. Majors. The prosecution has a heavy burden, and it's really interesting when they get in there and start promising things, and they need to deliver so they can prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. On the flip side, the defense under the Constitution really doesn't have to do anything. But in this case, they made that dramatic decision to go ahead and basically promise the jurors of evidence. And the jurors are going to be paying very close attention to find out, did they deliver? Because if they didn't, they may punish him with a conviction, even though they don't have to present anything. And also to the state of New York, the prosecution, they're going to have to provide this evidence that they say they have, or they might get punished with a not guilty. That's your Nicholson nugget of the day. Thank you. If you like this, like and subscribe for more updates.